It's on page 51. It's the first paragraph. Our great difficulty in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge too much in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove must certainly be and is the truth. From the Science of Mind textbook. How to use it. This was a big dilemma for me some many years ago now, when we really got into doing treatment a lot, which is really the way we use it. And my big dilemma was what to treat for. And I felt, and I guess I didn't have guidance at the particular time, or didn't seek out the guidance, but I was real concerned I would treat for the wrong things. I was real concerned about that for quite some time, a year or so, and which locked me up. Then I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to. What if this is the wrong thing to ask for? And what I learned in a little bit of time was that the universe is self-correcting. If you get what you don't really need, it will tell you so, and then it will let you move on if you will listen. And so I learned that anything that comes up through my consciousness, which is God flowing through me, is what I need at the moment, or my human interpretation of that. So it's all right for me to treat for anything that I really want. It really is. Because if it isn't what I really need, it will self-correct itself. So that helped me get started and get back on track and getting to using this so much better than I was at that particular time. It was somewhere in the middle 90s, I think, that I run through that strange idea of that if I had this much power, what if I misused it? So, and the only misuse of it is taking anything away from someone else or hurting anyone. That is, we don't treat for that. We treat for the highest good for everyone, ourselves, and everyone around us. And we can't take things away from others because there's plenty for everybody. We live with this false idea of scarcity. And that's probably part of what I was dealing with at the time too, is feeling like, oh, well, if I get more, there's less for others. And that's not the truth. That is never the truth. The universe is so absolutely abundant that there will always be plenty for everyone. So with that said, we go into how do we use this wonderful gift that's given us, this life force that flows. How do we use it? Well, we use it in that way, whichever way feels right for you at the time. And the way that it works is we speak our word into the law. It's what we were doing just a moment ago. And we call it spiritual mind treatment, and it doesn't have to have a name, because you're using it anyway. You're using it all the time anyway, because anytime you have strong thoughts or you have words, words need to have power, and the power behind your words is emotions. We always need to remember that. Ernest said one place, I didn't look for it and find it, but Ernest said one time, in your statement in treatment, your words must create pictures in your mind. If your words aren't creating pictures in your mind as you're doing your treatment, you don't have any power there. So it's really important that we get down, and that's an emotional thing. We want to be emotional beings. And a lot of people that get into religious science don't want to be emotional beings. And I was one of them. I saw my dad, I get back to my dad a lot, don't I? But I saw him to be an emotionally out of control person. And he was. At times he was very emotionally out of control, and that frightened me as a young child. And I got to see it a lot. So as I grew, I wanted to keep my emotions in check. I didn't want to repeat the damaging things I saw my father do around me. How he hurt people and hurt people and hurt people. And would get so emotional he'd get violent. Physically violent occasionally. He wasn't too terribly bad at that, but you were always in fear that it could move to that place. And that was very frightening to a child. So I really seeked to suppress my emotions. And I hope that wasn't your childhood, but it was mine. I have gotten over that. I'm leaving that behind more and more and more every day. Because without your emotions, you are not all you can be. Now, they need to be healthy emotions, but the healthy emotions come from learning the truth about us. And that's what the journey of January really is. It's learning the truth of the world around you. If we don't get the God thing right, which is the first chapter, if we don't get that part right, and if you drag forward what I did for a long time, was my idea of what God was from the particular Christian groups I was involved in at different times, and I was involved with several different groups, you come forward with a really unhealthy picture of God and an unhealthy picture of your relationship to God. And we got to get past that. And that's one of the beautiful things, of the many beautiful things I've found in religious science. God is no respecter of persons. Of course, that's actually in the Bible too, isn't it? God is no respecter of persons, and that is the big ultimate truth. Because he doesn't favor one group against anybody else. He doesn't favor you against anybody else. And there's nothing you have to do to plead to God to make me that special person who gets the good stuff. Because that's not the truth. The truth is God gives to all alike. You are just as special as everybody else around you. And we need to be able to move forward with that healthier idea of what God is, and then move to the healthier thing of who we are in relationship to God. Because you can't make it work if you don't do that. If you're always beseeching, which was the type of prayer I knew prior to coming to religious science, you are not putting positive energy into the world around you. And it's the energy coming through to you that is your life is positive energy. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be here. We wouldn't survive all of this without it being initially the most positive thing that comes through us. But as it comes through me, then I have the opportunity. Actually, I don't even have the opportunity. I am going to put what I feel into it. And if I'm having negative feelings, then I'm taking that positive energy and I'm diminishing it with my negative feelings. And then I can have negative results because of that. But it's because of me. It's not because of anything else around me. And I have to learn that. And if I'm seeing negative around me, it's in here and here. So I have to learn that relationship of me to the universe. If I'm going to have positive things, I have to join that positive energy of the Creator coming through me. It's how it works. That is always how it works. And my opportunity is to learn this and then cooperate with the universe around me. It's God's great pleasure to give you everything you want. And the only block ever for me is me. And it's a wonderful learning process. And I feel so fortunate that I left Sweetwater. And I would have never found religious science if I'd stayed in Sweetwater, where I was living prior to Midland, and where I really grew up. I would have never learned these deeper truths of life. And of course, that's why I think it's so important that this teaching stay in our community for those who want to come here and learn it. But when I learned that, then I can learn how to let life flow through me in such a much more positive way. I'm moving through my heart area, but it moves through all of us. It moves through your head too, through your mind. It moves through everything about you. That's the way it's always working and always flowing. Now what we get to do today, talk about our words. Because the universe, our teaching symbol, we break the universe up into 3 parts. And because it's sometimes a little easier to understand that process. Spirit being the top, God being the whole, Spirit being the top, the law and creativity being the center section, and our physical world being the lower section, our teaching symbol. And what appears to be the V is the process. God is always creating. This area up here is always creating. And it comes through what we call the law, or the creative part, which makes our physical world. Now, the ascending part is when I learn that. And I learn who I am in relation to that. Then my thought can come up. And what happens is, this is one movement. Now the next time, it is my thoughts in cooperation with the universal consciousness. What is it that I want to appear here? And through my mind, I say what it is. It could be a new car. I worked on that last year and didn't get it, but I haven't given it. It could be a new relationship, or it could be a new house. We were known way back in the 90s as the people of princes, palaces, and parking places. It was princes because most of our members are women, and they were often looking for a new relationship. And they would use this process, and sure enough, a new guy would show up. One couple that moved away, she did that process, Nikki. She did that in a workshop that I did for her quite a few years ago now, isn't it, Carol? Anyway, she wanted a relationship, so she created her one. And she found Bill. She talked about that when she came back. She was gone for about 6 months while she was finding Bill. And so she was working the process. She put out into the universe what she wanted. And she believed it. And she knew she really wanted it. And she put emotional energy behind it. And she went out and she found it. And they've been very happy since. Now they've moved off to San Angelo in their retirement. And that's a wonderful process that's going on. But the process is continuing. When it doesn't work well is when I don't recognize who I am in the relationship of the process. And I don't realize that God gave me the same power that God has is itself. He gave me the power to create. But I have to understand how this flow continues to work, because it's not static. We have a nice static picture here, and we look at it in a static way too often. There is a movement. Then there should be one over there, and the movement continues, and the movement continues. So we're always creating. And those people around you are also inadvertently, this is where the universal law of averages affects them, they are inadvertently creating, haphazardly creating. There's no plan to their life when they're not asking for what they really deeply want. Too many of us, and I fall into this category occasionally myself, don't think deeply enough about this. Because this is always the way it's going to work. God coming through us. And then we've got to see that and recognize that we are also creating our world around us. And we're responsible. That wonderful word, we're responsible for what we're creating. But when we realize the process of it, we can see what I put out there, what shows up. And what I learn, and this is the joining back of consciousness to God. This is knowing that my mind is connected to the universal mind. Always is. But as I cooperate intentionally with it, I can get better results. And I can create, and then I come down here and get to experience what I created. And is that what I really want? Is what's happening, is it what I really want? And you got to know what that is. The big hard thing for me for a long time was, what is it I really want? Kathy and I did book study this morning, and it's choosing happiness, and it says, do you know what you really want? And you do have to know that. What is it I really want? And back at that particular time, I really struggled with that. The time I talked about earlier, back in the 90s. What is it that I really want? Because you do want something. But what I did was I hid it from myself because I didn't think I deserved it. And by hiding it from myself, then I don't have to ask. And then I don't have to worry about being disappointed. But then also, I have kind of a dull life. And we aren't meant to have dull lives. We are meant to be happy. I was telling Taffy this morning, the Dalai Lama said a while back, it was on Facebook, so I know the Dalai Lama really said it. In our world funny? The purpose of life is to be happy. The purpose of life is to be happy. And I've used that a lot, haven't I? You know, what if you lived in a world where everybody around you is happy? And the Dalai Lama's right. The purpose of life is to be happy. And we've got to find it, and we can create those things around us that are actually opportunities. Everything you're doing is really an opportunity of service. Carol does a lot of service in real estate. She helps people find the right place to live and help people when they've decided that isn't the right place to live to move on. We're all doing some sort of service. Really. Whatever you're creating is really the underneath thing behind it always is an opportunity of service in the world in our own unique ways. And that's what we're supposed to do with this wonderful gift of creativity that's given to you. And what we do is we speak our word about it. Now we got to get the whole process straight. That's why the 4 chapters are so important for us to go back through again and again. Going back and clarifying again my understanding of who God is. That's so vital. Because I can't come from a positive place if I don't first have that. If I don't understand the creative source is absolutely a positive thing, it is absolutely the most giving thing, it is the creation of the wonderful world around us, the creation of your life itself, and that it is all good, and it only wants good for you, as itself having good too. It's a really wonderful interlocking thing. And then knowing that it is the flow of energy through you that is your life itself and the life of everyone around you. And it actually is the foundation of everything you see around you. And then knowing that life flowing through me as I harmonize with it brings to me all the wonderful things of life, allows me to be happy from the inside out. Because happiness is an inside job. If you're not in harmony with the universe, you won't be happy as you can be. And if I'm not creating around me, then I'm not ever going to be as happy as I can be. And then realizing through that process that I'm in service to others. Because guess what? Happiness is contagious. Happiness is contagious. So I am a contagion to the world, but I'm the right contagion to the world. You know, I'm the giving out of more life. Because when people are happy around you, they're giving out more life too. And then we're fulfilling why we come here. We're fulfilling that through all those wonderful ways. The deeper one, for us individually, is knowing who we are. We're God's children. And God's giving us everything we could ever want. And it's letting it flow through us. And as that wonderful things that happen around us, then see the service in it. Because that's where deeper happiness is. Carol just is bubbling over when she sells a property. And it's not just the money she's making. It's the wonderful connection she has with many. You're a wonderful example, girl. Yeah, she just bubbles over with excitement and happiness when she's helping make that connection for people. And it has that twofold support. It supports her in what she's doing, and that it enriches her life, enriches the life around her. Because she uses this process over and over again. Every once in a while we get a little lost, and I do the same thing Carol does. For a while I'm going, oh, woe is me, what's going on? And then I go, oh, I'm not practicing this. I'll get lost in thinking about it too much and not practicing it. And how it works is that we do practice this. We do speak the words out into the universe for things to be created around us. And we have to always get back to that. Because our world needs it. I try not to watch the news so much anymore as I used to. Taffy and I talked about it earlier this morning too. Usually at 5 o'clock, there was a beeline to the TV and sit there and watch that news at 5:30 every day. I did that religiously until I learned that sometimes that poisons my mind. It FUD, sales, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, is a marketing tool that is still used against us today. But the news is fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Well, if you watch too much of that, guess what you're getting? That's what's becoming how you're feeling about things, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So I don't watch the news near as much as I used to. I watch it occasionally, and I'll often do what I know many other religious science practitioners and religious science people do, is I send love to those places where there is not love. The news is showing me where love needs to be, and I'll stop and through my consciousness, and I know it works through the one mind. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, it doesn't matter the language you speak, it doesn't matter your ethnicity, it doesn't matter anything.
Doesn't matter what you call God.
That's right, there's only one. So through that one mind, we all speak to each other. So I choose to speak peace and harmony to the world. That's practicing this too. And that's another wonderful way to share it. Because then we are in a bigger service, a bigger way than you even know. So if you're watching negative things or reading negative things, stop and know that's not the real truth of the world. And I can send through me, I can send love. It's a gift from God that I become in harmony with. It's all about being in harmony with the one. That's the truth of the whole thing around us. So the way we use it is blend with it. And blend as harmoniously as we can. And then it'll do for us whatever we want. And whatever you want is okay. It's right for the time. Follow that. Follow that dream. And it'll speak to you. We need some silence once in a while to have that wonderful dream of my life become more and more aware. And when it becomes more and more aware, then speak into it. Speak into the law of your dream, your desires. Because that's the right thing to always be doing. Speak the law, speak your words into the law, that creative part of God. It wants to do that. The creative part wants your words. It wants your feelings. Because that's how it functions. Without us, it doesn't function as in a deeper way. You know, the universal law of averages, which is always happening, happens without our intent at times. But I think the law is always waiting on our words. I think that's why we see it happen so quickly through us. Because I think that is the truth. And it's the truth that enriches the whole life experience around us. And that's my story this morning, and I'm going to stick to it. Thank y'all for being here this morning. Thanks for letting me get a little wound up. I really...